Thank you, Minister, for the extra second. I'm going to tell you something about a new concept called global cities, and I think we should give new things a chance if we have unsolved problems. The Ukraine war and other conflicts pushed the number of people forced to flee violence, human rights violations, and persecution over the milestone of 100 million for the first time in history. Now, so-called global cities are a potential solution and especially a productive alternative to refugee camps. They offer a reliable legal framework and the possibility of acquiring real estate, importing and exporting goods, and setting up companies in an uncomplicated manner. And these are precisely the conditions that are usually lacking in most of the crisis countries and hinder economic development. Now, what exactly is a global city? A global city is technically a special administrative region. Special administrative regions are, for example, Hong Kong, Macau. I would also count in Dubai International Financial Center or the cities in Honduras into that category. A global city is run by a private company which would operate the city as a public service provider. Since the global city has the right to create much of the legal framework, best practices in sustainability and governance can be introduced from around the world. By employing judges, arbitrators, administrative and security personnel from internationally recognized countries and institutions, the city will build trust for its residents, refugees, investors and businesses from day one. All residents receive a written citizen's contract from the operating company which guarantees the mutual rights and obligations. This includes the services to be provided by the operator and the modest fee to be paid, as well as the applicable rules and the human rights of the residents. Newcomers with no financial means, which we will have, could be subsidized by the city for an initial period. Now, why private? The private structure of the city avoids the danger that in the event of an election victory, the winner will favor his cronies or install a regime that endangers stability or drives away companies and investors. The very nature of the system precludes the emergence of political or religious conflict in the first place. And because the operating company is an international endeavor with employees and owners from all over the world, the accusation of neocolonialism goes nowhere. Moreover, the model has considerable advantages with regard to incentives. Firstly, the operator, as the owner of the project, has a direct economic interest in the success of the global city. Secondly, he can be held responsible directly for errors, just like any other contract suppliers. And thirdly, he cannot force refugees to accept this product, but must find residents by the attractiveness of the global city, since participation would be 100% voluntary. No, we need a host nation for that, that's clear. The establishment of a global city requires a contractual agreement between the operating company and the state. In this agreement, the host nation grants the operator the right to establish the city in a defined territory in accordance with the country's specific political and legal requirements, including compliance with international agreements and treaties. It is only fair that the host nation receives a share of the project and the profits. In this way, incentives for all are coordinated. The host nation in general benefits from the revenues of this new economic engine, not to mention the jobs and innovations that can be created there. The revenue can be used for improved infrastructure and for social projects in other parts of the country. Now, how to finance that? Putting in place basic infrastructure, security forces, administration, and a judicial organization requires significant funding, no doubt. The operating company will certainly have to pre-finance the first few years, but this is standard business in venture capital. And if the project is successful, the increase in land value alone might pay back the investment. Now, what about human rights? Under the private structure, the contractual rights and the human rights of the inhabitants are guaranteed. This is because all actions of the private administration are subject to contractual agreements and can therefore be reviewed in the courts. In addition, it is conceivable that the host nation, maybe other protective powers, and the residents send delegates into a public inspection commission, which ensures that the operator also complies with the rights guaranteed by the contract. Due to the system itself, economic development, security, and stability take precedence over political participation. The latter can be introduced in a second phase, maybe after 10 years, with the residents then being able to elect the city manager or refuse rule changes by referendum. So there's every reason to believe that such communities will grow and flourish by guaranteeing security, committing themselves to the rigorous enforcement of law and contract, allowing personal and economic freedom, and keeping political and religious conflicts at bay. They can offer refugees a perspective they cannot find somewhere else. In the event of success, the idea will spread. If it spreads enough, Global City could make a significant contribution to mitigating the refugee crisis. Remember, Venice once started also as a refugee city. Imagine the human flourishing if we could create 10 new Hong Kongs in the world instead of 100 new refugee camps. Thank you.